Welcome to Growth Marketing Camp, where we sit down with our favorite marketers to demystify growth and give you the insights to help turn your next campaign into a major success. Let's get into it. Okay, welcome to another episode of Growth Marketing Camp. With me here is John Timmerman, CEO and founder at Goodmonsters and the founder of NobleCon. John, you've had an incredible track record in the creative digital marketing agency world, which is going to apply to basically all of our listeners in a different way. It's really exciting to learn from you. I'm just curious, how'd you get into this? Why agency life, man? This is tough. You got to represent a bunch of different companies. How did you get started on this thing?
Yeah, I started out my career as a personal trainer, a sports performance coach, training athletes. Met a gentleman named Frank Easterly, a really successful business guy in the offline world, and just really got hungry to learn about entrepreneurship. So I started an online personal training company.
Nice.
At the time, it was about 2009. I had to learn SEO. I learned not how to build a website, but what went into building a website. I had a firm do it for me. Experimented with that company. I was young and immature as an entrepreneur, so that company ended up sort of fledgling and just fizzling out from the online perspective.
Mm-hmm.
A few things happened and I got into marketing for a law firm, and it was boring as hell. I mean, just press releases all day long, every day. It was mind numbing. Not the type of creative marketing and, business stuff that I was really attracted to. So a friend of mine and I started a YouTube show to get some of that creativity out there.
Nice.
It was a very simple YouTube show. Think diners, drive-ins, and dives. We just did that in an upstate New York sort of geography. And that show led the businesses that we were going into to ask us to do their marketing. Videos, websites. It just expanded from there to where we are today.
Man, that's really organic. That's really cool. I love how you got into that. Now, you started out with YouTube. This makes a ton of sense because I see video content from you in different formats and types and styles of video content like every day on LinkedIn. So talk to me a little bit about why video and like how you're focused on video now.
This is so important for people. And it's funny, this is one of the reasons why we created NobleCon. So most people, including myself, look at people like a Gary Vaynerchuk or like a Neil Patel or somebody who's at the top of their game. They're a celebrity business person, and the content that they put out earns a lot of views and engagement, and they have huge follower counts.
Yep.
But what people don't realize is that putting content out, even though the followers and all of those numbers and those metrics, they mean something, people let that cripple them. That they're not going to get those likes and followers from their content. It cripples them to not put out content. I am not one of those people. I mean, you've seen my videos.
Yep.
I mean, they get 100 to maybe 1,000 views, depending on when it goes out and what it does. But Goodmonster has gotten real paying, relatively large clients from those videos.
Yeah.
So you have to realize that, if you're an influencer in the consumer goods space, yeah, you need a big audience. You need that, right? But from a B2B standpoint, or, if you're not the influencer who's selling the products, one by one or something like that, putting out content is your way to build trust. And all it takes is one. All it takes is one video. I can't even remember the actual video that it was, but in the video, I remember the client of ours now saying, I saw that video and you basically called me out and you said that, I was dropping the ball and I was missing huge opportunities if I just didn't hit the record button and start putting things out there if I felt the need. And so the CEO of that company called and she's like, hey, I want my company to do all of these things. Help me out. And that was one video that maybe got 50 views. I don't know. Yeah. So content, if it hits you right and you feel the need to talk about something, just put it out because you never know. And nobody really gives a shit if it's not great, and they do give a shit if it's awesome, right? So there's not a lot of downside to it.
Yeah, there's not a ton of risk if you have limited exposure. What's the worst that could happen? Your limited exposure, right? No,
yeah,
I love
and
that.
The platforms, they throttle that anyway. So if you don't put out good content, not that many people are going to see it.
Yep. So tell me, because you mentioned NobleCon, I'm interested to hear, what is NobleCon? Obviously, that's a part of what you're doing now, especially as you're ramping up towards the event in April, which when this goes live, we could be pretty close to the actual event itself. But this idea of, well, I don't have 1 million followers, so I'm not going to get enough traction with this video, so I'm not going to do it. It sounds like that was maybe the impetus for you guys creating this event.
We wanted to create something tactical. We wanted to make sure that people had real tactical advice to grow their business and their industry. And yes, we have Gary Vaynerchuk as our keynote, but his keynote is going to be very interesting. It's not going to be like a normal Gary Vaynerchuk keynote, but we wanted to bring in people that are very successful, but not the big celebrity business people, to talk about real life business stuff. Like, okay, do this. Like what I just told you about a LinkedIn video, or even a YouTube video for that matter, that you might be looking, our audience might be looking at all of these celebrity business people and the incredible reach and success that they're having, and just automatically saying, I can't do that. We wanted to bring in people to show, listen, you can do this. Here's exactly how you do it in finance, in operations, in marketing, in culture, in leadership. And so we've been really lucky to bring together about 30 really amazing, diverse group of business builders.
I love that. Now, as someone who's followed your video content for a while, I'm curious, it seems like you're also diversifying a lot of the kinds of video format that you're doing. So there's one show that you were running for a while where you would like make amazing looking breakfast foods, and you would talk about marketing at the same time. And I was always like, oh, what's he going to make this time? Like, this is really interesting to me. But it seems like maybe you've done away with that one and you've tried new spins on video. Is there something to that? Is there like a process that you're following for trying out new formatting?
Sort of. So there's two things that go into that. One, I got wicked ADD. So I get bored with content. And if you're creating content and you're bored with it, it's going to come through. It's just not going to, so there's that, right? I'm not going to say that that's a good thing to keep switching things. However, the second part of this is, change is okay. So going along with the whole, you don't have to have 100,000 followers and 100,000 views for content to work for your business. It just depends on what your goal is. My goal is not to become the next Gary Vaynerchuk or David Meltzer or anybody. My goal is to grow Goodmonster and to get more tickets sold for No Bull, rinse and repeat. So as far as the different shows, I'll come up with an idea. I'll throw them by our team. I'll say, how should we present this? What kind of editing, all that kind of stuff. They'll figure most of that out. And then we'll try it. And then if it doesn't catch on in the way that it's intended to, or I find something else that's more valuable, we'll change it. And, you don't sweat it because you didn't lose anything. The content is still out there. People can still watch it. Think of it like a TV show that went on for 3 seasons and just stopped, because maybe the director or the producer or whatever got bored and wanted to move to another one. That being said, consistency, I think, is key for marketing, especially brand. Anybody that knows anything about brand is all about consistent message, simple, consistent message, right?
Yep.
So the one consistency is me in this case, right? So I'm doing all of this. I'm doing a lot of different things, but I'm still me, John, the entrepreneur, interested in marketing, business growth. And so all of those different things still stem back to me. And that's what a personal brand's all about.
Yeah. And I think that was the thread I wanted to pull on here too, is that I went from what's John going to make in terms of breakfast sandwich or whatever, like, are you going to put a waffle with an egg with a, a hash brown and do something crazy, to what kind of video is John going to produce next? Like, what's Goodmonster going to have to say and in what format? And like, it's going to inspire me creatively. Like, I was looking for something different out of your content that I think is a good reminder. Hey, first of all, if it's not working, don't be married to it, right? That doesn't have to be the thing because one time in a content planning session with your team, you came up with this idea. You got to stay married to that forever. But you have this consistency that John is in the video telling us something. So I really like that. So a couple of good takeaways there. Let's jump into a campaign that you have done that you feel was just very successful, or that you learned a ton? I know you have one in mind that you want to break down. So talk to me. First of all, I'm always interested to hear this. Do you have like a naming convention for campaigns when you run them for customers or for yourself? Do you put some like almost internal branding around the campaign that you do?
Not really, not me personally. Sometimes our team does. They'll come up with a tagline
Like a nickname or
for the
something?
campaign. Yeah, and that's mostly our creative director, or something. It just allows them to sort of put a stamp on it, I guess,
Yeah.
put a label on it,
Yeah.
in a way that kind of guides the campaign. We do that internally
Hmm.
for initiatives for Goodmonster, interestingly enough. So we put sort of taglines on our own internal initiatives
Sure.
because we have a global team, right? So we have a studio and a team in Brazil. We have a development team in India. We have our account managers and team here in America. And then we're growing in all those sectors. We're hiring people in all those different areas.
Yeah.
So if we're doing like a culture building thing, whether it be like a global party or something like that, like we'll assign taglines and titles to those things, interestingly
Nice.
enough.
Yeah. Okay. So talk to me about this campaign though that's on your mind.
Mhm.
What was the goal of this particular campaign?
So at the time, we had just taken on a global baby products company, really design focused, high end baby products in Targets and Bye Bye Babies and all of those across the globe. We were working on the US division of it.
Yeah.
And they had come on and they were struggling with e-commerce, which is funny because that's exactly the type of customer client that Goodmonster works with today, are product manufacturers that have excellent distribution, usually a long history of success in
Mhm.
retail brick and mortar, but they haven't quite figured out e-commerce yet.
Nice.
So this was that exact scenario. They came to us and they said, listen, we got sales trickling in through our website. We launched Amazon a few years ago. We haven't really put a lot of effort into it. Our website's, it's there, but it's not doing much. We need help.
Yeah.
So we did all of that stuff and helped them in that area. But the specific campaign that popped into my mind when you said that was our first, I would call it nano influencer campaign. So nano influencer being like the everyday person with like 1,000 to 5,000 followers.
Yeah.
It's not their full-time gig. They just like posting stuff on social media.
Hmm.
And in the parenting world, especially in sort of the mommy blogger, that's sort of the category it's called. But like
Hmm.
the mom who just loves putting out content about parenting and sharing advice and things like that. There's a ton. There's
Yeah.
literally millions of that type of person out there posting content. So what we did is we tried to figure out, they had just launched in Target. So they had just struck a deal with Target, a
Nice.
distribution deal. And they wanted to figure out how to get the sales up to reach the numbers that Target had, the goals that Target had for sales. Because
Sure.
once that happens, then Target advances you and, we'll buy more products and get more distribution and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
So they wanted to make sure that they did that. And so here we are thinking, in addition to all the other things that we're doing for them, the Amazon, the website, the social media, how do we drive sales in store? And then we
Mm.
went through and we're like, okay, well, we could do some geo-targeted advertising. We could do, in-store coupon, like all that kind of stuff, right? But I'm not sure that's really going to hit. That's going to take a long time. It's not going to be done in the time frame that we need.
Yeah.
So our team came up with a really interesting campaign, which was basically, this was the campaign to nano influencers. Basically, anybody could do this, right?
Hmm.
It wasn't even limited to like 1,000 to 5,000. But we ran a contest where you could go into Target, take a selfie with the product on the shelf, and we
Hmm.
encourage that you bring your kids, your family, and
Yeah.
you take a selfie with the product on the shelf. You don't even have to buy it. You just go into a Target and you take a selfie with the product, and then you put a nice little caption. I honestly can't remember what we asked them to caption, but it was something cute and funny.
Yeah.
And then you would be entered into a weekly giveaway for $100 Target gift card.
Nice.
So no cost to entry. We opened it up to anybody to post on their own social media.
Yep.
So they would post that selfie on their own social media and then hashtag it, and they would be entered into the contest. We got I think like high hundreds of people that entered the contest in a couple of weeks, like a week and a half or something like that. But and then the span of their own reach or their own following varied from a couple of hundred all the way up to tens of thousands, or we had a few that had hundreds of thousands of followers doing it. And so it got millions of impressions and all the stuff that I just told you didn't matter. The
Yeah.
point is, though, that they beat their target in-store goal by 4 times, I think, or something like that in the course of the first month. So when
Yeah.
Target looks at that, they're like, holy shit, like your product crushed it in these stores. Okay, we're going to roll you out to more.
Yeah.
So it was incredibly successful because it cost really no money, obviously like the agency's doing the work and like,
Yeah.
putting that together, but it cost no money in paid advertising. It got incredible reach and it had a very specific goal, which was to show people that the product was in a Target store. Right.
Yeah.
So it was just really something I'm proud of that our team came up with and executed flawlessly.
That's beautiful. So, man, as you're telling the story, I can think of 100 different threads I want to pull on here. But it's fascinating that you use the digital experience to drive in-store sales. Love that concept. Obviously played really well because people still buy in store, right? Like Target is still one of the top producing retail establishments. So of course you can do this. There's still interest around. It's not like people just want to do e-commerce. They just want to buy online. So I love that idea. Where was the original posting of the content coming from? You said we're not doing paid ads. So was it just their corporate social profile from the actual product manufacturer itself?
Do you mean where were the selfies
No,
going?
the original, when you said, hey, this is a thing we're doing now, go take a selfie. Like, did you just post that on the company social profile the one time or a
Oh,
few times and just like bring that back up again?
so we sent an email out to their email list. We asked them
Okay.
to share it with all of the parents that they knew. We did
Nice.
post it on social. And then I'm pretty sure from a tactical standpoint, I'm pretty sure we boosted that
Okay.
so that the entire audience would see it. I don't think we actually ran a separate ad. I
Sure.
think we boosted that so that it would grow basically by word of mouth. And then we
Yep.
just encouraged them to share because it was free. I mean, the entire community shopped at Target, right?
Yeah.
Like that whole community, along with the rest of us, go to Target and get, a lot of their home goods and whatnot at Target. So we just felt we didn't need to run ads to do it. We just
Yeah.
needed to kind of add a little fuel to the fire that was already happening. And I think it's one of those instances where it was just the right sauce on the right meal at the right time
Yeah.
because it was something that they're already doing, going to Target. It was so low cost, low barrier to entry. You already carry your phone, you're walking
Yep.
down the aisle, you see it, you take a picture, like you post it on your social. It's all the stuff you're already doing. And I think that's why it worked so well.
Yeah. I love that. The amount of friction for a contest, I mean, it's got to be as easy as possible for someone to be willing to do it, first of all, and then to want to share it, right? To
Yep.
put this on their own profile and associate themselves with it. That totally makes sense. Well,
Mhm.
then I understand the channels you used. If you could do it over again, though, if you could say, hey, we're going to run the same play, but start fresh. The audience has never heard of this, but we know it's going to work. What levers would you pull differently or what would you do differently about that campaign?
Quite frankly, we probably just would have gotten a few larger influencers to make the announcement. That's
Okay.
that's probably the only thing that we would have done differently is instead of the company, the brand channels
Yeah.
announcing it, we probably would have put it in the hands of 1 or 2 or more influencers. And if I were to be able to do it again, I mean, there were factors at play that kept us from doing this over and over and over again and just,
Hmm.
kept it going. But if I were to do it over again, I probably would have had a significant influencer announcing it and then running that for the month and then having another influencer the next month doing it again and running
Almost like a
and
partnership
then
play.
having it compound. Yeah, so the first
Yeah.
influencer, if it was working, they keep doing it. And they
Sure.
do a monthly one and we tweak it a little bit and we make it fun and engaging and change it a little bit, but would have used some larger influencer activations if we
Sure.
weren't able to do it ourselves.
I love that. Has it taught you anything or influenced in any way other campaigns you've done for yourselves or for other customers?
Man, I don't know. Like, so that was our first nano. So I guess it showed us the value of nano influencer marketing or just everyday. I don't even like the term. I don't like the label, the nano micro. I mean, it is what it is and everybody sort of understands it, but
Sure.
everyday people and word of mouth still is the best source of marketing or the best resource for marketing. And so if you can get just your customers, your employees even, and their friends, as well as sort of everyday people that are interested, if you don't have anything else, if you don't have a budget, if you need some like really quick results, just go to your communities wherever they exist and try to get them to sort of kickstart that campaign and then measure from there and see if it's worth a larger investment. I would say this was our first dive into nano, so that sort of taught us the value of everyday people loving your stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Now, I'm curious, did you find that despite the rules not stating, hey, you need to buy this product, did you find that there were people then tweeting or posting on various social platforms, hey, I bought it and I love it? Or was there more conversation about the product organically other than for the contest? Did you see it or track any of that?
It's tough to segment it because we were still running ads for ecom. We were still promoting heavily on Amazon and doing Amazon PPC. And, we still had our regular email marketing going on. So it was tough because that was all growing at the same time also.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we hit really hard with this brand. I mean, in the first 4 months, we went from $8,000 a month in website revenue. I think it was just website, wasn't including Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
to 35,000. And then like that was the growth sort of, the first month was 8,000 when we came on, and that was just sort of by itself. And then the second month was, I don't remember what it was, but let's say it was, 20 something thousand and then 35. And then like it just kept going from there. So we were literally trying to take every opportunity and funnel it in all at the same time. So I can't say that that campaign specifically helped out the other things, but it was so focused on increasing target revenue
Yeah.
that, that was really its sole purpose.
That's huge. Well, obviously, it stands out in your mind as a huge win. Lots of unique combinations of strategies in there that I love. So, thank you for sharing it. Thinking about maybe zooming out from this particular campaign, thinking about growth marketing, thinking about the folks who are worried about how do we grow our business. There's things that we're doing that maybe we should stop doing. There's things that we aren't doing that we should start doing. Now, one of the things you've already mentioned, start producing content. If you have something to say it, publish it, don't be afraid. Anything else you want to add to that, or maybe that we should stop doing that we are doing already?
So stop doing. I don't know. One thing on the top of my head that is something we're talking about internally is there's a lot of different paid media platforms, right? So Facebook and TikTok and Snapchat and Google. One thing from a paid media standpoint is I think, I know we should probably stop trying to fine tune our audiences so incredibly deep just because we can, because the platforms are so effing smart
Mm-hmm.
that they're going to do a lot of the work for us. And I think maybe where that comes from, I'm assuming, is because 10 years ago or, around that time, we were able to target based on every little single thing that they could possibly get their hands on, right? Then
Mm-hmm.
privacy became an issue and, some of those things went away a little bit. But the platforms themselves, Facebook's ad platform, Google's ad platform, and Google's obviously made a big change with theirs for anybody that watches the headlines from a tracking perspective.
Yep.
But they're so smart that I think that marketers should stop trying to tell the platforms who to advertise to, from a micromanagement standpoint. Instead, give it some guidelines, let it test the creative, put a bunch of creative out there that your team has already done homework on, and then
Mm-hmm.
let it tell you who your audience is on that particular platform. You're much better off. You're going to spend so much less time trying to strategize and figure it out before you then set it up and then run the ads and then realize that this one's not right. You're going to save so much time and probably so much money in the long run by letting the ad platforms do what they're intended to do.
Yeah, I
They
love
want to
that.
make you money. because then you keep spending money.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the top of mind, something we're discussing internally about. I think we should stop doing.
No, that's a really good one. I can speak to that, knowing that at our company we turned on the ROAS, the return on ad spend, automated bidding in Google, and saw our costs go down by 50%. I mean, all we had to do was tell it what happens after you give us a lead. Well, look, these are good
Yeah.
leads, these are bad leads. That's all we needed to tell Google, and Google figured out a ton of stuff. We had a bunch of creative already tested, they had a bunch of data from us. It's great to see how much more efficient those engines can be when it's run by an algorithm. Certainly you need to check on it from time to time, but it has been a huge win for us. So I love that. And it's, I often say the phrase, people do what they're incentivized to do. Well, so do algorithms. I mean, the people who wrote the algorithm are incentivized to make more money for your business. Then of course, they're going to be optimizing it for that purpose. And they're a heck of a lot smarter than I am. The average market. I mean, we don't know enough about data science to do what they can do on their end.
Yeah. And no human can foresee, as much as you know about your company, you don't know what Sally in Idaho, who just got off a hard day at work and feels like she wants to sit down and relax and look at her, you don't know when somebody's in the mood, not in the mood. And the algorithms start to take all of this stuff into account and know when to show them what and where. And we just got to let them do their thing.
No, I love that. Well, now thinking about your own team, obviously you're unique in that you're an agency. So you're running marketing for a bunch of other companies and for yourselves. As far as it goes for yourselves internally, do you have shared resources with those who work on customer accounts, or do you have a specific internal marketing team?
Do you mean for our own brands?
Yeah, for your own brands.
Yeah, so we do. We have shared accounts. So we'll just use NobleCon, for instance. So Goodmonster does the marketing for NobleCon. And that's been crazy because of the pandemic. Everything has shifted and changed. So it has made marketing NobleCon incredibly hard because it was an in-person event.
Yeah.
And when it couldn't be an in-person event anymore, then the date had to change. The format had to change. Everything, literally everything about it changed. We added more speakers because we added a day. It just threw a wrench into everything. So our team had to juggle all of those changes alongside, one or two other accounts that were running as Goodmonster clients. And it's a struggle from an agency perspective, like any agency owner out there, it's a struggle because when one account is running smoothly, it's great. Things are easy. There's a process, there's a system, there's checks and balances. But then when chaos breaks out in another one, you have to divert your attention to that one, keep everything running smoothly over here. But the problem is when you divert your attention to this one over here and try to fix whatever's going on over here, then maybe your eye comes off of something over here and then that thing breaks and then you have to go back. So when this started, this is just what we did, and maybe a little advice out there for any other agency. What we did is when we saw the wheels starting to fall off Noble a little bit, because we were trying to figure out, are we going to go virtual? Are we going to still try April? Are we going to be back in person by then? New York, we're super stringent here.
Yeah.
When I saw all of this sort of happening, I went to my executive team and strategy team and said, okay, listen, this is going to be a beast right over here to do. So we just have to sort of trust the process with the speakers that we have and the message that we have. And if it's not perfect, it's okay. Because we own this, right? I literally own this business with a few partners, and then we're completely in charge of Noble. So this one is okay. Let's do the best we can with it. It's been chaos in 2020 already. So let's just make sure that our clients here that are doing really well already, let's make sure they continue to do well and thrive and do the best we can balancing the two. Sometimes you can't always do that if those three clients are all actual clients and one is, the wheels are falling off. But if you're working on internal projects or, Goodmonster's own marketing, some things have to ebb and flow. And oftentimes that's why agencies don't do their own marketing very much.
Yeah, boy, tell me about it. I ran a sales development agency, and I can tell you we didn't do outbound for ourselves for a long time. I can totally appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, John, I appreciate you coming on the show. I'm sure our audience is going to love this and hearing your perspective as somebody who's done a lot of marketing in a lot of different ways. Who are some
Thanks,
other
Rex.
marketers who maybe should be on our radar? We'd love to have on the show, or maybe somebody at least we should be following on social media or otherwise, who are maybe
Oh,
inspirational to you.
yeah, a couple of them. First is Greg Connolly, the founder of Trifecta Nutrition. If you're not familiar with Greg, maybe you're familiar with Trifecta. I believe they're the largest, they're not the largest meal delivery, but they're the largest like nutrition, fitness meal delivery. They have deals with the UFC, the PGA, the
Wow.
a couple other sports. I can't remember exactly. Just go to their website. But Greg is a smart marketer. He grew that thing. I think they're doing $150 million in reoccurring revenue. So these are all memberships, which is like a company's dream. And he did that through funnels and marketing strategies. You know, he's the CEO and the founder, but he's a smart marketing dude. And I can intro you to him if you want, but he's an awesome dude for just to follow Trifecta's Nutrition's success, because I'm pretty sure they're hunting for an IPO right now.
It sounds like they're about ripe for it.
Yeah, real successful.
Yeah.
Another one would be a good friend of mine, and these all happen to be some of the tactical speakers at Noble also.
Oh, nice.
Another one's a good friend of mine, Paul Daly. He runs an agency called Congruent. They're an amazing brand. I mean, they do a lot of different stuff just like we do, but he's a brand genius.
Yeah.
Really great at branding. He also has experience. He started his own business before a marketing company, refurbishing rims on cars for auto dealerships that would get a used car in and it's got dings and everything. They'd go in and powder coat it and do. He grew that from like one, just himself, to 50 employees, and then sold it, and then started Congruent.
Yeah.
Now he's pretty deep in the auto industry, really well connected. But yeah, those two gentlemen would be great.
I'm sure we'd love to have them on the show, and everyone who's listening should definitely go and follow them. I mean, that sounds like there's plenty to learn from those folks. That's awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely.
John, thanks so much for being on the show. Anybody who wants to find you or find Goodmonster, where should they go?
Goodmonster, you can go to thegoodmonster.com. If you're interested in attending our event, if this comes out in time, it's NobleCon.com. If you want to chat with me, hit me up on Clubhouse.
Nice.
Everyone now knows Clubhouse is coming. It's just John Timmerman, but everywhere else it's Johnny Timbo. So Twitter, Instagram, Johnny, JOHNNYTIMBO. Would love to chat.
Perfect. Thanks so much, John.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to Growth Marketing Camp. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you would give it a quick 5-star rating or share it with a friend or colleague looking to get a little more inspiration for their next campaign. If you want to learn more about the company behind the show, head to Opensense.com. That's OPENSENSE.com. We'll catch you on the next episode.